Hey class, this video is on factoring. This is factoring trinomials where we have ax squared plus bx plus c. And this is the case where we have a is not equal to 1. So this first term over here, we have x squared. That is something other than just 1. It could be 3, it could be 5, doesn't matter. Okay, so if you look over here, these are the steps. The first step is to use x factor. Okay, the way that we use x factor is we put our middle term, which is b, on top. This is the number that we're adding, and on the bottom it's a times c. So a, which is our first term, c, which is our last one, and you put that on the bottom. You multiply them and put it on the bottom. So you have to figure out which two numbers on the side do I multiply to get this bottom number, add to get the top. Okay. Over here, for step 2, it says split bx. So this middle term here. Well, if you look over here, what we're going to do is we're going to keep our ax squared term. We're going to put our c, that remains the same. But what we have from x factor, we put that on we change bx into both of those. Okay, so those numbers on the sides that we have, we just put variables, in this case it's x's. And then finally from that, you factor by grouping. So our whole kind of goal here is to get two binomials in parentheses. Alright, well for this we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 16. Where we can tell that our a in this case, it's not 1, so I'm going to be using this case right here. Okay, so using step 1, we're going to use x factor. Okay, so which number's up here is my b? Well, it's our middle term, which is 2. Well, it says a times c over here. Well, a is 3, c is a negative 16. So then I multiply that, it becomes negative 48. Okay, so what I'm thinking of is which two numbers do I add? Or in this case, it may be to subtract, and multiply, do I get negative 48? Okay, those numbers turn out to be, it is negative 6 and a positive 8. Okay, if I add these two, it's a positive 2. If I multiply them, it's a negative 48. So we move on to step 2, which is to split this term up here, this positive 2x. So we write 3x squared. We'll leave a blank over here because we're going to write our c, which is negative 16. And inside we use our x factor, those numbers that we have. So I'm going to write that as negative 6x and 8, positive 8x. Right? And it's true that negative 6x plus 8x is a positive 2x. Okay. Now with this we move on to step 3, which is factor by grouping. Now factor by grouping, you group the first two terms and the last two terms, and you factor out what's in common. So over here we factor out, it looks like we can factor out a 3x. Okay, so there's going to be something in those parentheses, but I'm going to come back to that. Let's factor out what's in common here. Of 8x and negative 16, well what number can go into 8 and 16? It's a positive 8. Okay, we can't take out any x's. The way you know it's positive is this first term over here. If that first term is positive, then you factor out a positive something, whatever it is. Okay. Now what we should notice is that within these parentheses, they should be the exact same thing. Let's see if that's true. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself the question of 3 times what number gives me 3? Well, that's 1, right? If we have an x times what gives me x squared is just an x. So 3x times x is 3x squared. Okay, now I ask myself the question, 3x times what gives me negative 6x? Well, that's a negative 2. Okay, well we should know that the parentheses over here should be the exact same thing. Let's just see if, let's just put it in here and see if it works. So is it true that 8 times x is 8x? Yeah, that's true. 8 times negative 2 is a negative 16. That's true as well. Okay. Now we get into the factor by grouping part. Okay. Factor by grouping means of all the things that are similar we put into one place, and all the things that are also similar we put into another. So I'm going to put over here the stuff that's on the outside of our parentheses, right? This 3x and positive 8, that's going to go in one of these parentheses. So 3x plus 8. And the stuff on the inside, the stuff that I've highlighted in blue, it's the same thing, so that goes in another parenthesis. So x minus 2. Okay, and this is our answer to factor quadratics where a does not equal 1.